Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have special guest Amanda Hicks. Amanda, how are you?
Hey, doing all right. How are you?
Doing well. It's funny because I know you live in Phoenix or in Flagstaff, right?
I do.
Yeah, but you used to live here in Dallas area, I think, and you and I met through a WRRC run, so that was cool. But I didn't really talk to you. I just saw you, and there's this woman from Flagstaff. I didn't know who you were or whatever. But funny enough, so my wife runs Boston every year. You showed up for Boston as you do every year.
I do.
It's well known. During kind of I guess the run before Boston Marathon, you and I just had a good chat for 5 or 6 miles, whatever it was, 4 or 5,
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you should come on this podcast because you have a great story.
I
So
do.
here you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I lived in Dallas. I grew up in Grand Prairie,
Yep.
went to South Grand Prairie High School, graduated in 2002, which shows my age. And then came back to after grad school to work for the Dallas Morning News. I actually trained for my first marathon. I was working the night shift at the Dallas Morning News, and I would run in the afternoons around a White Rock Lake. So that was
What?
miserable. Yeah. If I can run in the heat in the middle of the summer around White Rock Lake and train there, I feel like I can run anywhere.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So you worked for Dallas Morning News. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I worked there for about a year and then I went to Washington, D.C. I lived there for 13, 14 years and then ended up moving to Flagstaff, mostly for the running because my husband and I can work anywhere remotely. So we chose Flagstaff. We both love the trails here. But it was definitely a culture shock moving from DC to Flagstaff, a little mountain town.
I'm sure a lot less people.
Yeah.
Dallas to DC,
Yeah.
hustling and bustling, especially in DC. And then
Yeah.
I wouldn't say different atmosphere, I'm sure.
A lot slower. And there are a lot of runners here, but I'm not a slow runner. But here I'm one of the slower runners. There are a
Yeah.
lot of Olympians up here. And you really find people on both ends of the spectrum. There's somebody, who like Sharon Laketti runs a trail right by my house. And
That's pretty
I see Sarah Hall running around a lot. She lives close by.
Does Jim Walmsley live close?
Walmsley lives about 3 or 4 miles away, but like I saw him last week up on top of a mountain. But
Wow.
until I like beers with him before. But everybody knows everybody here. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have very recreational runners in Flagstaff. And then you have the middle to competitive age group people like me who I can find people to run with, but I'm not an elite, but I do see them around a lot.
What got you into running? Like, when did you start? Was it at Dallas News or
Yeah.
something?
So yeah, I think I can trace my running journey back to playing soccer. I played soccer from the time I was able to walk, basically, to the time I guess I played through high school, and I was looking for something else to do that would still keep me fit. I played midfield in soccer, and I was the person who could stay out there on the field for a long time and never get tired. And so they said, let's make a run. So, yeah, I ran a couple of half marathons and really was doing it just to stay in shape, but then realized after my first marathon in 2008 that, hey, I could run a little bit faster. My first marathon I ran a 3:55, and then my second marathon I ran a 3:32, which I had to look it up, and I
That's
realized
progress.
I was Boston qualifying at the time. Yeah, after that.
So let's back up. You mentioned
Yeah.
you ran a couple of half marathons. Was this like after high school, college?
Yeah, I guess my first half marathon I was in grad school. I went to grad school at the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri, which is a great place to run. And I ran right under 2 hours and it was competitive, but I realized if I just put in a little bit more work, I could go faster. And I liked the process. I liked the idea. I'm a journalism major. I have 2 journalism degrees. And I feel like it's the idea that you put into it. You can report a story, you can put into running a lot of effort and you get out of it what you put into it. So if I worked a little bit harder, I felt like I could qualify for Boston. I could get faster. I could be stronger. And I just liked that progression. So that is what drew me to running initially. Then I got on this kick where I was running like 5 or 6 marathons a year and I was getting
Jeez.
faster. I was putting in 100-mile weeks. I was running like 3:0 something or a lot. And some my marathon PR is a 3:01. And I run that a couple of times, and I run a 3:02 and a 3:03. I never broke 3. I mean, there's still
Right there on the
time,
cusp.
but
I think there's still time.
yeah.
Sure.
But I really liked just seeing that progression and seeing those big chunks of time come off. I was a solo runner. I always said I hated training with people. I hated group runs. But then I found a group in DC that I really loved. They were all DC. Everyone's super type A. And I joined in with this group. It's called the Dojo of Pain, which sounds really intimidating. But it's a great group of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so they pushed me to get faster, and I kept running with them, and they're some of my best friends.
You were there 14 years or something.
Yeah,
12,
yeah,
12,
I
14, whatever.
yeah, I really only met them in the last 5 or 6 years, and that group helped me really define myself as a runner, and I found my group. And so that was the toughest thing to leave, I would say, but the pandemic just made it clear that I needed a life change, so I moved to Flagstaff. But I did meet a lot. I come back to Dallas a lot
Yeah.
every year, at least for Christmas, and then a couple of times also throughout the
I
year.
feel like I just saw you the other day.
I know,
Right
yeah.
now.
I was just there last week. I come to see my family. They all live in East Dallas and right next to the lake. My mom's house is half a mile from the lake. So I run around the lake a lot. I met Kieran and Fonz.
Yeah.
And gosh, it is before they even started the Pegasus group. So it's been years and years ago. And
2012 or something.
yeah,
Before that.
yeah. Like when Strava was just starting, I met those guys. And so I ran with them, and it's been cool to see that group grow. I love meeting new people when I come back to Dallas. I sign up for all the runs on Strava, all the Facebook groups. I love to meet people and hear their stories and learn new routes because you can run around the lake a million times, but I like to explore new places.
I love that because you come out like on the hill runs on Wednesdays. Some
It's so
private,
early. You guys run
I,
at 5 a.m. Oh my God.
I get there at 6, so I don't run the
Yeah.
5 one because
Yeah.
they'll do 3 loops. They'll do it 3 times, and so they start at 5 something, and then they come back around and then start at 6, and then
Yeah.
I think they do a 3rd loop. I just do that middle loop, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I love that about you. Like you know people here, and you're still taking a risk of, hey, when I come to Dallas, I'm going to go run with some people.
Yeah. And I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, but why
But I
not?
mean, that's early for me because I'm 2 hours behind you.
Sure,
So
sure.
time shifted anyway, and it's always a temperature shift. I live at 7,200 feet up here.
Big time
Um,
shift.
so when I come down to sea level, it feels good, but then you have to contend with the humidity. It feels bad. Yeah. But yeah, I would say if I go through my reasons for running, when you start off, you want to see how fast you can get. And at some point, that kind of levels off. You peak at some point, and hopefully it's later in life than early. Sooner, you don't want to peak too soon. And for women, it can be later, I'm told. But now I really do it. It's a bright spot in my day. I know that I can still win some age group awards. I know that I probably still have a couple of good races in me. I love to meet people and
You for sure.
connect. And it's a reason to get out of the house. So all of those reasons.
All right, let's put it in perspective here. How many Boston marathons have you qualified and run?
Qualified. Oh gosh, this sounds terrible. I qualify almost every time I run a marathon. It would be odd for me not to qualify because like my paces are pretty quick. So sometimes I'll have a bad race and not requalify. A couple of Bostons ago, I had only tested negative for COVID like a couple of days before. So I was struggled, and I think I missed requalifying by a couple of minutes, and that was a death march. That was terrible. But yeah, that was just one of those, let's just keep the streak. I've run it every year since 2010.
Wow.
This past year was my teeth, and I count the virtual as one of those because I think Boston counts the virtual as
Yeah.
one of the times.
16 Boston marathons.
16
In a row.
consecutive. Yeah. So
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, so the goal is to get to 25. There's a famous writer named George Sheehan, and he's long dead. He wrote a lot of really interesting running books back in the 70s and 80s, and he made it to 25. I love how he talks about and writes about running. So I would love to get to 25. They give you the quarter century club bib. You'll see these old guys running with, so it's a lot of men right now because women have to really like age up into it. But they give you a bib that says you're in the quarter century clubs. That would be cool. I've read about them and they have a lot of organized meetups. So I'm really into that. And I think I got started so young. I feel like I can make it. It's only 8 more years. I feel like I can
I
make it.
think it's extremely doable.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't get
Yeah.
injured. Just
And
don't
do you
get
have to
injured
do it?
in April. Just
Do you
be
have to do
healthy
it
and
25 in a row to get it? Or
yeah,
is it? Okay.
yeah. It's a
Sorry,
quarter
not just
century.
25.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very doable for you.
I think
So
so. Yeah.
you ran Boston. Go ahead.
Then maybe I'll stop and do something else in the spring. It's hard to really to run the same goal marathon every spring.
Yeah. Do you run a marathon before Boston or throughout, or is it you just do that one now?
I've done different things. So this past year I ran the Napa Valley Marathon
Good.
in early March, and so that gave me 6 or 7 weeks between marathons to get ready for Boston again. I ran a 3:19 there, which was pretty good for me on that day.
Yep.
Then I ran 3:24 at Boston, which was fine, not my best, not my worst. And
I mean, you
then
did run one 6 weeks before. So
I did, yeah. And I had a half marathon in between, I think something. Anyway, yeah, I ran a
cheers.
lot. Yes. Back in 2015, I did Boston to Big Sur,
Yep.
and that was 6 days between. So that year, I ran a 3:01 at Boston and a 3:15 at Big Sur. I was super fit. And then in 2017, I ran Boston and London, and that was 6 days apart. And I ran London faster. So I think it was like a 3:17 Boston, 3:11 London.
Okay. My wife did that this year. She went
Yeah. Yeah.
Boston
What
and
do you think?
I think that she loved the experience. So Boston, she ran, I think it was 3:35 or something, and then London was 4:11. One is I didn't go with her to London. I did go with her to Boston, but she said that it was a great experience, amazing, but it was so crowded. They had like record number of crowds, 56 or 7,000 people. And you could tell, she said,
Yeah.
really, it was just, she goes, it was a great experience and it was well done. But, it was just, for now, I think for her, London, she spent so much time trying to get at it. She says, okay, that was a great experience, but I'm not sure we'll do that again.
Yeah. Is she trying to do all the majors?
She was, and now she only has Tokyo left. She's not sure if she's like, I don't know. We'll see. So I think for now, she's going to be more focused in on Boston and that being her only race for now. But let's do other things, some short stuff, some weight lifting, other things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's been doing it for 20 years, running
Yeah.
hardcore for her. And she's okay, what's it going to be like to not train for a marathon until January? So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that off season is helpful. Last year, I started to train up for Indy and then I didn't feel great in the fall. So I didn't run a fall marathon. And I think it helped me in the spring. I think that was how I was able to do a couple this spring. But
yeah, maybe she get the mojo or whatever back.
yeah,
We'll see, but she'll get it. I think.
sure.
Look, I was just glad she made it, so I can go back to Boston.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I knew if she wasn't going to make it this time, qualify, which I figured she would, but then I was like, all right, you've got to make it so we can go back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's helpful after 10 that they give you that you don't have to get under the qualifying standard, that you only have to meet the qualifying standard. I know that's probably a little controversial because so many people try so hard to get so far under the standard. But I feel if after you've done it 10 times, they need to give you some kind of concession. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And they do after 10 Boston. I don't think it's in a row. It's just a matter of do 10.
Yeah.
It is in a row. I don't
don't
know. How many, as you kind of look now after Boston Marathon and things like that, what does your training look like today? What are you trying to, is it hardcore? Is it just laid back a little bit?
I've had 3 different coaches, and I feel like I'm in this cycle where every couple of years I go back to a coach just to add something new. So I'm probably due for another coach. Because I haven't had one in a couple of years, but I use the Pete Fitzinger plan as a rough outline. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Yeah, I'm a pretty high mileage runner. When I was at sea level, I would regularly run like 100-mile weeks. Now I'm up in the 70s up to 80.
Yeah.
I've done 100 a couple of times up here at altitude, but it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot out of you. And as I get older, I just can't do that as often. Right now, I took a little bit of downtime after Boston, but then I got back into a half marathon cycle. Have a half marathon coming up in 3 weeks in near Seattle. It's called the Super Fast Half Marathon. If they're going to call it the
Awesome.
Super Fast Half Marathon, I feel like it has to be fast.
So got
No, so it's
got to
a
hear about it.
all right. It's a point to point. It's not one of those like rebel, like super
Yeah.
downhill ones because those just tear up my quads. I can't do those.
Can't even do a half like on the downhill,
Yeah,
like for the
yeah.
rebels.
Yeah, it's downhill, but it's like gradual downhill. And it's the surface, from what I can tell, is chat. It's not a road marathon. So it'll be fun. My husband's running it too. That's a short distance for him. He's an ultra runner. So yeah, we're both running that. And then I actually got into the Sydney Marathon in Australia. Yeah.
Nice.
A couple of 3 weeks ago. So yeah.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I had to book that very quickly. I just finished booking our travel plans for late August, and so I refocused to add a little bit more volume to that half marathon plan. And I'll run Sydney, and then I'll run, if I can recover, I'll run in Indy this fall, which is early November. So
Intense
it's a
schedule now.
lot. It's a lot of running this year, but I felt a lot better after as I turned 40. I just had some like hormonal issues. I'm in perimenopause, like squarely in perimenopause right now. Once I got those hormones sorted out, like I feel a million times better now. And I've been running a lot stronger since then. So I'm excited to see what I can do with all that sorted out. And I think Sydney will just be fun. It won't be a goal race. It'll be like check the box. Like it's this one of the seventh marathon
Yeah.
major. So
Have you
I'll
done
do.
all the other 6 or?
I haven't done Tokyo and I haven't done Berlin, but if I can run a sub 310, I think I qualify for Berlin as an old lady.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
310, that's still pretty fast.
it's
But
pretty
that's doable
fast.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I could probably do it on a fast course,
And
flat course, cold day, Indy, right? Maybe. So that's the goal. And then Tokyo, I don't know how to get into that. I'm going to have
pay
to
a lot of
pay.
money.
Yeah. So I want to do the.
$10,000 basically to get
Right.
into. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It might not be 10,000, but it's going to be 7,000 or
Yeah.
something like that. But I do know Andy Wheatcroft. You might talk to him to see how he did it because
Yeah.
he gave to some charity. But even if they asked for $1,000, you probably have to give $3,000 to
Right.
even get in.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of thing.
You know.
The only
Yeah.
way
So
to get into this through charity or the tour thing. So
yeah, yeah, I'll figure it out. I don't know. Maybe wait a couple of years until I can save more money after the Sydney trip.
exactly.
But yeah, so the training right now is probably, I'm up to about 70 miles a week. I just ran a 3-hour event. It was called an ultramarathon, but who can run an ultramarathon in 3 hours at altitude? I don't know. But I got
Fast
second
people.
place. I got second place in that. That was
No.
on day. Yeah.
Second place woman or overall?
Second place woman,
Okay.
or I think third overall. Yeah. So that was
crazy
fun.
awesome.
So that I do things like that. I'd say a standard week is probably 70 to 75 miles. One day, super easy, 4 miles maybe, or rest. I have a Peloton. I do some Peloton riding. I try to get
You
to
don't feel like that's so I talked to 2 other people, 2 women just in this last week or so that love their Pelotons. And it gives you strength training. So that's becoming more and more of a, I mean, it's probably been there. I'm hearing about it more and more,
yeah.
but only from women. Right now, I haven't heard many men doing it yet. So I don't know.
There are a lot of cute instructors on there. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Yeah, I'll also do a couple of classes with friends of mine. You can sync up
Yeah.
your schedules, and so you can see each other riding.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's
It's a lot of
fun.
competition.
Yeah, and then I do 2 or 3 days of mobility and strength every week,
So
and
smart.
then you have to do strength work at our age. I say our age. But once you're like over 30,
Our age. I mean,
our age,
look, I'm
right?
50. So
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
bit older than you, but still.
So I do a lot of like band work and activation and strength
I think the
stuff.
sooner that you can get that focused, the sooner you can start doing that, the better off you're going to be just overall as a runner, and longevity will
Right.
help, I think. It's not just stretching, but I think it's the strength work, core work, weights, all those things, putting that into your workout. I think it's extremely important. I don't do it enough for sure, but I think it's word to the wise, obviously. Look how long
Yeah.
you've been doing it. And I mean,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
look how many
I've had one
marathons you're doing.
injury, like one major injury the whole time I've been running, and it was an overuse injury. It was a foot stress reaction, and I was out for 6 weeks, and that's it. I'll have little things pop up, but I've been very lucky, knock on wood, that I don't let things go for very long. And I see a PT every 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes less if I'm not training that hard. But yeah, I keep it.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and probably high school and in college, she was injured all the time. And one of the reasons was when she hit college, she was over like doing too many miles. Because there's just some people, in my opinion, like me, like if I'm hitting 40 or 50, 40 is probably my sweet spot. I don't want to go too much over that on a consistent basis. Sometimes I can maybe hit 50, but anything after that for me is just too much. And then when she started her kind of marathon journey, she started doing more core work, strength work, a little bit less mileage. She's hitting the 50s and things like that, but and she's really fast. She's hitting 3 hours or 3:04. So it's not like she hasn't really been injured at all. But that's probably the last 5 or 7 years. She's young, but I do think there's something with that, especially I'm not saying you can't do 70 miles, 100 miles. You can't, but you got to think about your body and then what can your body do? And then when you start doing the other exercises, I think it's going to be important. I love that you brought that up. I
Well,
think
I mean,
smart people are.
yeah,
You know,
I also sleep a lot. I don't have kids. I have a dog that keeps me up, but
project.
I have a job that is it's a good job, but I have really good work-life balance. I'm lucky I've had jobs that do not offer that, and this one does. I work
Are you
East
still a
Coast.
journalist?
No, so right now I work for Comcast, like the cable company doing advertising technology. And
Yeah, you told me that.
yeah. And I'm lucky because they really don't schedule meetings before about 8 a.m. my time. They would be the rare meeting that's before 7. Things have to be really crazy to have a meeting before 7. So I can get all my running done before 8. And then my afternoons are pretty free. I'm super lucky there. I
That's
get, yeah, I get a lot of sleep.
you
I
just take
am
a nap in the afternoon. Like you
yeah,
have to.
right? Yeah, I am so lucky. So that I know that whenever I don't get that sleep and whenever I don't have that balance, that I can't put in that kind of mileage. If
Yeah.
I have other obligations that take me away from the running goes. But luckily, I've been able to train pretty consistently for the last so, tons of years, 15, 16 years.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah, it's been
No, I
great.
love that. And I think that you built the life that you want. And I think you have to be, to me, if you can be intentional about doing some of that stuff, it's great, whether it's the job or the kids or whatever. And
Sure,
now you live in a place that you can just
I can
have
walk
an
out my
amazing
door.
running experience.
I'm a quarter mile from a beautiful trail and I can see a mountain out my window and
Good.
I am so lucky and I do not take it for granted that I am healthy and able to run.
Yeah.
But
Do you run the trails a lot?
everything is a trail here. Everything is dirt or a fire
Yeah.
road. It's hard to find flat road runs unless you run on Lake Mary, which is great, but can get old. So, yes, I run a lot of trails, which is just kind of dirt. I don't run the technical trails that often because I'm pretty risk averse, but I will get on those.
Hence, you haven't been injured much.
Sure. I see a technical downhill and I freeze. So I'm not the best technical runner, but I have run trail ultra marathons and road ultra marathons too.
The most you've ever run is a race.
Yeah. So back in 2016, my husband and I ran Comrades,
Oh, wow.
which is, yeah, it's the oldest ultra marathon in the world. It's in South Africa. And it was such an experience. Oh my gosh. It was
It's like
just
60
56.
miles or something. 56 miles.
56. It
Yeah.
depends on the year they changed the roads.
Okay.
So this was a down year, which means you go from Pietermaritzburg, which is in the mountains, down to Durban, which is by the ocean.
Way
And
better to go down than up to me. But I don't know. 56 miles is a lot.
you think, yeah, it's great. I want to run downhill.
Not that many miles.
I love running downhill, but then your quads start to hate you about halfway through. And
Yeah.
by the end, like I was like running sideways because like your leg muscles don't want to do that anymore. Like
Yeah.
imagine running Boston twice. It's just miserable. Yeah, the crowd support is amazing. You've just got people with food stands and all the food and drinks you could ever want. It's just a giant party.
But anything to do with ultras, you're going to
Yeah.
have these nice aid stations and food.
Yeah.
It's always a part.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the longest I've run. One 50-miler. Gosh, it's been years ago. And some 50. I actually ran the Cowtown 50K
Yeah.
back in 2016, something like that, and ran a 3:53, which was pretty quick.
It's very quick.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a one of the course records at the time. I think it was the course record.
No way. You get the record?
Yeah, yeah,
So you won it.
I might have gotten second because the woman in front of me got the course record too. So anyway, I think I got the second fast. I know. And she was like legit, like a
Do you
like a
remember who it
pro or
was?
something. Anyway,
Do you
sorry.
remember who it was?
I don't. I remember Camille Herron
What's
was
her name?
there, but she dropped out. And so
Really?
yeah, so I kicked her ass.
Sweet.
But no, it was somebody else. Somebody else won.
Okay. No, I talked to Liz Northern, and she lives in Fort Worth, and she's run the 50K before and
Yeah.
whatever, and she's really fast. So
Yeah. It
maybe
might
it's-
have been her.
But
It
she
was,
does the marathon, half, who knows? She runs it every year,
yeah.
different distances. So
Yeah. Yeah, that name sounds familiar. I don't remember, but I remember looking this woman up being like, oh, she's like D3 somebody. I don't know. What is it.
you're pretty quick. You're still running low grades.
Yeah, no, I'm still putting in the miles and going pretty quick. I ran a
Yes. I love
ran
it.
a run 29 and a half in Austin.
Wow.
That's downhill,
Impressive.
but still, it counts.
I think that whatever you run on any given day, it counts. Like I ran my fastest downhill at 128. It's my fastest 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so I count. It was one of the Rebel races, and I want to go back and try to beat.
Yeah. Like those downhill races are hard. Like I've run some fast, super downhill races and I have blown up completely in some of those. So you really have to train for them. You have to have a lot of, and you have to have a lot of fatigue resistance for the end. Yeah.
I remember running. So it was the one in Utah, the Rebel. I think it's like 2,900 feet of downhill. So it's a lot just in a half marathon. And so that first, I don't know, 10 miles were just, I was flying. Like I've never run so fast for so long, ever. First mile, I took it kind of slow, but then after that, I didn't. And I thought like mile 6 or 7, I was running, I don't know, 6:15, 6:13s. And then I was hitting another 6:17, another 6:15, 6:19. I was like, I don't think I've ever done this in my life.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 miles, because it just
Yeah.
kind of levels out, but it seems like you're going uphill because there's probably a little bit of ups. I like calling them uphills, but it felt like it was an uphill. And,
Yeah.
and it was getting hotter, and my legs were just crushed. And so I still ran a one. I thought I was going to hit a 125 or under because I thought, man, I'm flying. Like I don't even know what the opportunity here is. This is amazing. That's going to be great. And although I still hit a PR by a pretty good amount, I still think I could have done better if I would have known about how fast I can go as I'm going down.
Yeah.
So I do think it helps, but I also think you can blow up because the last 3 miles, because it gets hot, it hurts, everything's hurting, and you're just trying to get through that. But
Yeah.
the point is, to me, that's fun. Like I
It
can't
is.
wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I count it as my 5K PR. It's really probably not, but it's my 5K PR is Hood to Coast leg 1, which is just from the top of Mount Hood, like just bombing down a mountain. It's a relay race, but the first leg is notoriously just like straight down. It's 500
5K.
feet per mile. It's terrible. So I ran an 18:12 5K, which for me is I'm not that fast, but yeah, it is 5 or 6 miles where you just bomb down. And then after that, you have to run 2 more legs within 24 hours for our team because we're really fast. And your legs are just so shot. So you just give it all on the first one and then try to regroup.
The other ones just do whatever you can.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
During that, funny enough, like during that half marathon, I ran 2 PRs in a 5K. Right? I think I ran like 1920s.
Yeah.
2 of them. And my previous was like in 1952 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I ran like everything was a PR that from
Right,
a half
right.
marathon to 10K to, I ran like a 39-minute 10K.
Yeah.
Which I
Incredible.
thought was like a 41. And so
Yeah.
that's the beauty about some downhills now. some friends were doing the marathon. And I was like, that's a different beast because you can only go downhill for so long, so fast. These guys were like, they're from Dallas and they went and they thought, man, I'm going to kill it. I'm just going to, I was like, for a while you will, but something could
Right.
happen. And it did. Like this one guy, I'm going to hit under 3 hours. He hit 3:35. Another guy was like, I'm going to hit 3:10. He hit 3:50. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
that
Blew
much of a
up.
difference. Yeah, people, because going that fast for that long, it just, especially because we can't really train for that in Dallas.
Right.
They
Yeah.
just
That's what I was
oh,
going
it's
to
downhill. I
say.
can't wait. So
Yeah. Yeah. You guys, you do not have the hills. You've got like Flagpole and you've
yeah,
got Holy Hills to do, but that does not prepare your quads for that amount of downhill. There is nothing like that you can train on in Dallas.
exactly.
Come
So
to
I have some
Flagstaff.
more questions for you because I'm
Yeah.
really more interested now. Like, get your journey a little bit. You started a while. You seem to really love running because you're just doing it for years and years and still continue to run 2 or 3 marathons a year, some half marathons and things like that. As you think about you and your husband, you mentioned that he's a runner as well. Talk to me about some of the trips that you do together or some of the, because I'll just give an example so you can kind of think about it. Like my wife and I have done some epic trips. So last year in September, we did this really cool Alps trip and it was a 5 or 6 day trip. It was a glamping like thing. We'd stay in hotels, but we'd run 7 to 12 miles every single day in the Alps with the guide. And then there was a race at the end of it. I didn't do it because I think I signed up for 50K. I was like, I'm not going to do it. If I would have known, I would have done the like 20K or something. Point is, like, and then one year we did this. It was a 120 miles in 6 days in Colorado, 20,000
Mhm.
feet of gain. I don't forget what it's called. So last year, this year. But it was just epic, right? Like she'll do marathons. I go with her. I don't really do marathons. I can do up to marathons. So we're like in the mountain things, doing stuff like that. But to sometimes focus in on whether it's races or trip of running and things like that. Do you guys do anything like
Yeah.
that? Or
Yeah, we definitely do. So on our shared bucket list is Chamonix.
we
We
went there?
love to do that.
Yeah.
So you're speaking my language on that.
You should. You should absolutely do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, we go to Tahoe every year. We have a place in Tahoe that we have a timeshare actually that we have for a week in August.
Nice.
Yeah, and then my mom also has one. We meet up with her and hang out there. And the trails in Tahoe are amazing. In August, it's beautiful. Sometimes it's smoky, so that's a problem. So we always do that. But we we plan running trips, I would say weekends away. It's been really great to live in Arizona because we can drive to Colorado, to even bigger mountains than we have here in the summer. And then in the winter, we can go down to Sedona. I'm 30 minutes from Sedona. So that's amazing. And we can do just day trips down there. He'll run my, if I do a double in the afternoon, he'll
Oh,
run that with me. He does a lot of long runs on the weekends.
that's
Yeah. So we will support each other. He'll drop bottles for me or
nice.
pick them up here or there. But yeah, so we do that. But I would say we've taken a lot of running trips. I can't name them all. It's
Anything coming up that you're going to be doing
coming up.
together?
Let's see, we're going to Seattle together for this Seattle area. Is it the Cascades? I forget.
I think so.
Yeah. Tim, we'll run a little bit while we're there. And then we will go to Tahoe and Australia, but I'll be tapering. So I don't know what he's going to do. He's running 100K in July in Oregon,
Will you
Ashland,
go to that
Oregon.
as well? Or
Yeah, so I'll go to that. That's just a weekend trip. And then we actually stayed in Dallas for about a month this past year because we wanted to run somewhere that was not snowy. So over the
makes
Christmas
sense.
break, we stayed in Dallas. But it turned out this year, Dallas got more snow than Flagstaff got over that time period. So we chose
How
poorly.
ironic.
It's still fun. But
Well,
yeah.
you get to come and do, if you do that again, just do the Dallas Marathon half or something like that. Just
Yeah, we could. But that can be hot though sometimes. Wasn't it hot
it's
this?
not usually. Oh,
Yeah.
like it's just a half. You know, you don't have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, half can be.
If you decide to come, just sign up for it and just. It can be hot. It was warm this last year. Yeah, it was really warm and bashy.
See?
But that's true.
My point.
I did the 150 and I was like, God damn, like I was trying to pace it and I did, but I struggled. I was
Yeah.
like, dang, like I can't. Usually 150 is probably not a problem, but it was.
Yeah. So I think we've got some travel coming up. I think next year we may try to do Chamonix. We can save enough money after this
Yeah.
me trip.
You're doing Sydney, so
Yeah,
that's huge. That's a
I know.
cool opportunity, though.
I know. Yeah, we're going to Fiji as well. So
Nice.
yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
been to Australia? Or
No. And this opportunity just came up because I put in for one of those Abbott draws where they send you this, they're like, you might win. I'm like, I'll never win. And I won.
the winner, one of the not so many. That's going to be pretty packed.
I know. Yeah, that's why I say it's definitely just a check the box, complete the
Is
race.
it hot there too?
So
Is it
it'll
always
be,
hot in Australia?
no, Fiji is the same temperature year round, but in Australia, I think last year it was warm, but it
Okay,
should be in the 40s or 50s, I think,
that'd be
because
great.
it's August 1st, which is spring, winter-ish
Okay,
because Southern
so
Hemisphere.
potentially, most likely, it's going to be cool, but
And
potentially it
it's
could be warm.
chilly and
No PRs.
no PRs. It's fine.
Yeah, you're gonna PR in Indy.
I'll get my Southern Hemisphere PR. Not
That's
spring,
true.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time. I don't know if I told this. I went to Belfast for a work trip one year. This is probably 4 years ago, five. I don't know. It's right before COVID, let's just say. So it's been a while. But anyways, I went to Belfast and I signed up for this half marathon, trail half. And so it was on a Saturday. I get there Friday night. Yeah, I know. But I had to stay awake. It was like, what can I do? And I signed up for this kind of trail run. And then so I took a Uber, which I had Uber. It was really hard to get back, but it was about 45 minutes outside of Belfast. And so I was in the city, but then, there's all these windy roads. So I get there, I'm talking to the race director, and he's like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "Dallas, Texas." He goes, "You Dallas?" So they were shocked that, number one, I would sign up for that. I was like, "I have a work trip," and I thought, why not come here? And so I did. I won the half marathon.
What?
And yeah, I mean, it was a trail, but it's really, it's kind of like what you're talking about. It was more of the just some hills, but it wasn't like crazy.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my gosh, you won it. You came here." There's only 30 people running it or something. But then they had a marathon. Luckily, I didn't do that. And they gave me a trophy and two medals because they're like, "Oh, just take this medal. It's really cool that you came." And they were all excited. And I'll tell you the last part of it because it was fun. It wasn't running, but I also, that Sunday, because I like watching NFL, found this, because they don't have NFL games in Belfast. And I found this Facebook group that has a group of people that meet at this bar in Belfast every Sunday. They meet kind of later. And I went there and they started buying me beers and hanging out. So I just walked over there and back and stuff like that, even though it was another mile or so. It was the coolest experience.
Yeah.
Then I went to work the next.
Yes. Did you wear your medal?
Yeah. No, but I told them,
To the
but I
Belfast?
told people at work, that I won, and they were like, they kind of made an announcement or whatever. But it's kinda fun.
Amazing.
So
So
I
yeah.
digress, but it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
So who knows in Australia what kind of experience you could have.
You never know. One time I won it was the first 50K that I ever entered, and it was like super low key, but the prize, it was in North Carolina in this like super backwoods area, and the prize was a knife in this giant leather holster.
Nice.
And I mean, good thing we drove because there's no way I could have checked that
Yeah.
on a plane. Anyway,
We could
still
put in luggage, maybe. I don't
right.
know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Should
I
have
wouldn't want
checked the
to, but
back.
like, I don't know. Throw the shit
Yeah,
out.
still the weirdest
That is weird.
prize.
You won. You won
Yeah. Yeah.
50K, you said?
50K. Yeah. First
Wow.
50K. Yeah. So
It's pretty amazing. And you get a knife with a holster.
I
You still have it?
threw it away pretty quick. I really don't. I keep all my race bibs. I keep all my Boston medals, but I pretty
Sure.
much throw everything else away. You can see behind me, I've got a couple little trophies that are just cute that I'll probably throw
Yeah.
it away too.
It's a knife. It's got to be the most unique thing you've ever got.
Yeah. Yeah. It was sort of.
I try to think like, I get this little, at 5K, I get this holster not so long ago at the Velvet Hammer. So it's like just this, and it's made of like stone light. But I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. Now I'll put my coffee mug on it.
Yeah. That's
So,
nice. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Okay.
something useful. I'm not a big fan of, I get the bibs and I throw it away. I get the medals and I just throw it on where the washer is somewhere. And there's a shit ton of
Yeah.
medals everywhere. I'm like, why do I keep these? I don't know. Maybe one day I'll go back and say, oh, 2019, I did this or something.
I know. I keep a log of all my races, but that's pretty much the only.
Usually I would go through an entire journey. I knew Amanda with you. I was like, that's just too many.
Tell me all the marathon. I think I've run 60 something marathons. I don't.
60 marathons. Wow. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing. Do you know how many
yeah.
halves you brought?
I could pull up my spreadsheet and tell you it's more than 60. I think.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
if you're doing a half marathon before your marathon for kind of a training run, because a lot of
yeah,
people do that, and obviously
I
you've
do.
done it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do.
yeah, it's at least one per race. Maybe you're doing a couple of
Yeah,
half marathons. A lot easier from a recovery standpoint. You can just do it. You're doing half marathons almost every day, anyways.
yeah.
So you more.
So with the training, sure. Yeah.
You're just doing some speed work in the half.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
I was trying to do all 50 states at one point, but then I realized I don't really want to go to North Dakota. So,
Yeah,
there are certain states that I'll never see, and that's fine with me. I think I have 20 some odd states on that list. Yeah.
that's not bad. That's actually a good amount. I
Yeah.
know a lot of folks that are trying to do that. And to me, it just doesn't. One, it's a lot of travel to just go to podunk cities and try to find a marathon there or have.
Yeah.
Like I don't do marathons anymore, pretty much. I
Yeah.
just talk to people.
Yeah.
I've done them, but don't get me wrong. And
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
what it's like.
Right.
And I've done 50Ks and things like that, several halves and 20 milers and things like. Well, Mandy, is there anything that I should have asked you that you're like, Chris, you just completely missed this, or that you're just wanting to get out?
No, I don't think so. You know what? I'll tell you what I miss about Dallas.
What do you miss
Uh,
about Dallas?
I miss the food. So I miss the Mexican food, Tex-Mex,
Yeah.
and I miss Whataburger. Not new Whataburger, but old Whataburger. How good it used to be. Really miss that.
I do love Whataburger, but I just can't eat it.
I,
My
you know,
stomach doesn't allow.
if I lived there, I would be 15 pounds heavier. I miss my family. I love the Dallas running community. And I think every time I come back, I get a little bit faster, even though it's usually miserably hot. Or I love to have people pull me along. So if I'm ever in town and I see you, I'll run slower or I'll try to keep up with anyone just to talk.
Yeah, that's great. When you come back, certainly let me know. We'll make sure to maybe run the hills, or we do speed
Yeah.
work on Tuesdays if you're interested in the
I,
track or whatever.
yeah.
Now, I do have a couple more questions. Now that a couple of folks have emailed me and just said, hey, why don't you ask what's kind of your favorite nutrition during your long runs or marathons? And then what do you like to wear? What's your favorite kind of, whether it's shoes or sports bra or whatever brands?
Yeah, I like right now. Let me hold on. 'Cause it's right behind me. Hold on.
Yeah, get it. Go get it. This is all on video.
Okay, cool. Okay. The Precision Hydration Caffeinated Gel is,
Okay.
I really like these. Yeah. And then I just started these this week. This is huge. See how big this is compared to this
That
little
is
guy?
big. Do you take that through your whole run? Or what?
Yes. I have a sports bra from John G that has a pocket in the back
Okay.
to hold your cell phone or this. So this is good because it's got a lot of sodium in it and it's got a good glucose to fructose ratio of 2 to 1. You can see that right there.
Let's say 450 calories or
450 grams of sodium.
got it. Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'm a salty sweater. So this helps. And then this one has caffeine. So like you feel like you can punch through a wall if you take one of these with caffeine. It's really
Love
good.
it.
I also take post-exercise ketones. I've started doing that either with caffeine or without. So on the long run days, I'll do ketones with caffeine, and then sometimes I'll do ketones without caffeine. But
Okay.
that kind of helps me keep mentally sharp. And then these shoes, these are the Elliott Racers from Treksmith.
Okay.
ran-
Awesome.
Yeah, I ran Boston in these. I love these. They have a removable insole that I think the plate is actually in the insole.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, they're really good. They feel like I get a lot of ground contact with these. Like they've got good tread on the bottom. So you're not, I think I could race in wet conditions in those.
Yeah. And do you always use the plate like in all your runs or?
No, I only run one workout a week in carbon. I feel like I'll get injured or I'll have low leg problems if I do too much in carbon. Sometimes I'll go weeks without it. I don't like carbon for normal
The
runs.
training.
Yeah. Also, if I'm on dirt, it's already unstable, so I don't want to roll an ankle.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's the gear.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time and your stories. This is a lot of fun. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
And thank you to everyone tuning in to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Stetzel. Make sure to sign up on our Substack newsletter. So if you go to dfwrunningtalk.substack.com, you can get that. Thanks, everyone. Take care.